Before we start this show, just a word from our sponsor, 20 by 20 Apparel. Founded in 2015, 20 by 20 Apparel brings original tributes to pro wrestling's classic arenas, moments, and events. They look to spotlight the bloopers, bleeps, and body slams along with the biggest, smallest, strangest, and strongest that pro wrestling has had to offer. Along with their awesome line of pro wrestling apparel, they do offer many services. In the world of wrestling, there are hundreds of shirts, promotions, flyers, social media accounts, and ads. Don't get lost in the sea of parody shirts and display fonts. They can provide professional graphic design services at a reasonable price. 20 by 20 also hand screen prints all the tees in-house. If you would like to discuss possible run of tees, posters, koozies, foam fingers, or whatever, drop them a line. Go to 20 by 20 Apparel. That's the number 20x, the number 20 apparel.com. Now, let's get to the show.
Fresh is the word.
I'm Jim Duggan, got long wood for plenty hoes. I keep it fresher than fresh, but you already know. You suckers bummy, I'm money, I got a ton of flows. My weed loud like a motherfucking thunder roll. Your shit quiet like you ballin' on a budget though. We see your kicks and we laugh and yellin' what are those. You see me shining like a suit on puffy. You know my grindin' shit is too strong, buddy. That's why the dude call money. I be stuntin' like it's nothing at all. Cause it's nothing to me, it's probably something to y'all. Trying to smoke like me, then come and fuck with your dog. Got a closet full of kicks, you can't cop it tomorrow. And I'm fresher than the freshest, you can tell it's in my essence. Bitch, you see the way I'm rapping, yes I do this shit to death. I tell I'm running out of breath, I tell somebody cut a check. But either way you know it's fresh, and either way you know it's fresh. Fresh, we fresh, fresh, goddammit, we fresh.
Welcome to the Fresh is the Word podcast. I'm your host, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier. And on Fresh is the Word, we like to deliver wisdom through great stories from the minds of bright creatives of pop culture. Through those stories, we like to dissect the journey of our guests and present actionable lessons and advice for our listeners, no matter what career or avenue of artistry they pursue. And before we get into this episode, I want to give a shout out to Knox Money, Bang Belushi, and Foulmouth for the theme music for Fresh is the Word. And if you would like to support the podcast, you can always go to freshisthepodcast.com and just share any of the links for any of the episodes on any of your social media platforms. And also, you can subscribe to Fresh is the Word pretty much anywhere that podcasts are streamed. And that includes Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, pretty much everywhere. And please rate and review, especially on Apple Podcasts. It will definitely help out the show. If you want to contact me, you can always reach me by email at djkfresh@gmail.com. Or you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at KFresh is the Word, and on Facebook at facebook.com/KFresh. And you can also follow Fresh is the Word on Twitter at Fresh is the Word, and that's is with an IZ, Instagram at Fresh is the Word Podcast, and Facebook at facebook.com/Fresh is the Podcast. And this is episode 161. And the guests for this episode are Alethea Van Holland and Jaxon Joubert, creators of the comic book series Bad Luck, published by Imbion Studios. Bad Luck is a dark comedy supernatural series set in an alternative 1950s America where witches, demons, and magic are real. And we definitely get into the Bad Luck series and we break down, what it's about and dissect, the inspiration behind the characters. And also during our chat, we talk about how they both became comic book creators, how they go about working together, their own styles. We talk about Sailor Moon a lot. We talk about the idea of acceptance in regards to this story and just in life, and so much more. But before we get into this interview with Alethea and Jaxon, I definitely want to remind you how you can support Fresh is the Word. I am on Patreon now at patreon.com/Fresh is the Word. And for as little as $1 per month, you can help out me and Fresh is the Word. And for the $3 a month tier, I'm going to be digging deep, opening my audio archives for interviews that I've done outside Fresh is the Word for various journalistic endeavors over the past decade or so. Stuff for articles that I've written, some interviews I never even used. So those Patreon, exclusive podcast episodes with my archives are going to be a treat. Definitely a lot of cool stuff. I already have interviews with Danny Brown, Cool Keith, 12th Planet, and part 1 of my interview with Jay Dilla's mom, Ma Dukes, already up on the Patreon at patreon.com/freshisttheword. And there's also higher tiers where you can actually be a part of the podcast. So go to patreon.com/freshisttheword and sign up now. Definitely help out and support what I'm trying to do with Fresh is the Word. All right, let's get into this interview with Alethea Van Holland and Jaxon Joubert, creators of the comic series Bad Luck. I was trying to do a themed month for my podcast, but that did not work out at all. So I just it didn't work out at all because I had so many other interviews in the bank too that I was like, oh wait a minute, I can't postpone these until after October, after Halloween. And then everybody else the types of people that I wanted to get on it at the time, really nobody replied back to me. So I couldn't do the Halloween sort of October month that I wanted to do. So
sorry.
So I was just like, screw it. But I kept your email and I eventually read Bad Luck. But then at first, when I first started researching you, I'm like, oh, we have somebody in common with Claire. She's originally from Michigan. I used to party with her and her sister in the Detroit party scene, hip hop scene, techno scene, whatever. So I was just like, oh wait, how do y'all know each other? I was like, small world.
I thought, it was, as soon as you're like, do you know Claire Van Holland? I was like, what? Shut up. I was like, what a small world. She's actually my aunt. She married my uncle.
I was like, oh, all right. I'm like, small world, I guess. Oh yeah. But when I eventually got to reading Bad Luck, I was like, yo, this is pretty good, man. I like it. I like the story. I like the idea behind it. I love the artwork. Talk about the idea behind, what's Bad Luck about, and the idea behind it.
So Bad Luck is about a very scattered-brained and forgetful witch named Ava, who summons a demon or an incubus named Oliver to be her familiar. But he doesn't want to be her familiar, so they have to go on this epic quest to obtain these rare components around the world to break their familiar bond, which would set Oliver free and allow him to go back home to the underworld. However, their adventure doesn't come without a price. A group known as Harvesters are hunting witches like Ava down for their own personal benefits. And the leader of the Harvesters seems to have taken interest in the pair for some mysterious magical reason. So Oliver and Ava have to learn to work together while avoiding the Harvesters at all costs to see their journey through to the end. It is a comedy adventure, but we do have aspects of horror in it because it does deal with demons and witches and a lot of dark taboo subjects as the series progresses. So it starts out kind of light and kind of friendly, and then as the series progresses, it's just going to get darker and darker as we're just going to put more of our characters through a lot of fun stuff. Jack, you want to add anything?
No, you've got it. You've got it pretty well nailed. Can't add much to it. That's about it.
Yeah, it's Ava is this is a pain in the ass of a character. What was the idea behind this character?
Well, I kind of modeled Ava a little bit of her design and her optimism a little bit from Alice in Wonderland. And then we just kind of turned that to the extreme because she's very upbeat and she's very much she's down for anything. She's pretty much like the bright light in a sense that'll get you through the series. But even then, she's going to have her own maturing and dark moments too that will somber her personality down a little bit more. So yeah, she is sort of like that annoying little sister, but she also deeply cares about everyone. I think Jack one time in another interview described her as the truest friend you could ever have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So
she's definitely the type too, it's all about everybody else. She doesn't think about herself, and she's so constantly positive that you can't help but think there's something deeper going on, but really there isn't with her. She's everything is on the surface.
With with having a character that's like you say, everything's on the surface. What sort of challenges do you feel like this character has already or will run up against to being so like everything's basically her heart is on her sleeve, everything's on the surface.
it's sort of like she does have some secrets, but it's sort of like secrets she's not aware of in a sense. Um, and without giving too much away, it's just it's kind of fun because we can present someone like Ava who's so bubbly and peppy, and she's always on your side, and she always tries to see the good in everyone. Like I can't give too much away, but like she will always try to see the good in people, doesn't matter what the situation is. And the thing about that is that we can kind of play with people's expectations a little bit. So they're going to think that she's going to be this kind of airhead, kind of playful character throughout the whole series. But then we can have something surface in some way that might catch them off guard and they didn't expect it. There's sort of like this little running joke that Jack and I have throughout the comic series that Ava's kind of aware that people poke fun at her, and she's on board with it.
Yeah, she definitely can aim the joke at herself quite a bit. And there's some of it too where you feel like it's like, is Ava really being silly here, or is she just being annoying for the sake of being annoying? She's like, I know I'm irritating you and I'm going to do it on purpose because it's fun.
When when you have this character that on the surface might be a little ditzy, be very just flighty, is there a strength that you're trying to show in this character through all of that?
Jack, you want to explain that?
Yeah, I think the strength that comes from that type of character, like with Ava especially, is this innate ability to picture, you picture what you want to happen and make it happen. So she wants her familiar to be happy, whether that's with her or not. And she's going to make it happen. And, she doesn't know how she's going to make it happen, but she can see the end and she can make her friend happy, and that's it. And that's really her driving thing, is she doesn't want anybody to be in pain or anybody to suffer. And with her constant positiveness, like she has so much positivity that it's sick to even write half the time. There's parts of it I'm just going, ugh, really. But it works so well because you've got someone as salty as Oliver. Oh man, is he salty. You just need to throw in the sweet to make it palatable.
What was the sort of inspiration behind Oliver, the familiar?
It's really hard to explain. Like it's there wasn't like one specific inspiration behind Oliver. It's just sort of happened that way. That sort of seems to happen a lot with these characters that we throw together in this series.
Yeah.
Like we have a bunch of different sources. So like Oliver, yes, he's an incubus. So we drew a little bit from mythology for like his looks and his abilities and stuff. But when it comes down to his personality, it's just sort of like what would work in this situation, in this story, and that's where his personality kind of shines through. But yes, he is salty, and he is bitter about the situation, but he also doesn't mind being the butt of some jokes. is a little bit of sort of like the outside observer. So he sort of is like, wait a minute, you're doing this? That doesn't make any sense. That's dumb. Like,
Yeah.
But
Yeah, we
so
like to use him as the voice of reason sometimes, where
sometimes
Ava is just like ready to go at adventures, or even at like bad people, just like head first, I'm gonna take you on. And he's like, you are stupid. You're going to die. Can we not die today? That'd be great. Yeah.
How do you feel like Ava and Oliver influence each other and vice versa?
You know, so Oliver is a demon, so he doesn't have like you know, kind of human compassion in a sense. He's very much selfish, self-centered. He has to feed. He has, like, you know, in the first issue, all he cares about is himself feeding. He doesn't care about Ava eating. So he's very much self-centered in a lot of ways. And with Ava, with her being so, she's constantly thinking about other people. She's constantly putting other people before herself, even if it hurts her in the end. She's always willing to make that kind of sacrifice. So I feel like with Ava, he's going to learn a little bit of compassion, hopefully, throughout the series. Kind of depends. And with Ava, because he's so grounded, and he and you know, Oliver is so just kind of pessimistic and idealist in a lot of ways, or realist. She's probably just going to learn, be like, oh, what would Oliver do in this situation? I probably shouldn't do this then, or, you know.
Yeah, let's not just run face first into this. We'll think about it a little bit first.
When you have a character like Ava that, you know, puts so many other people's needs ahead of time, you know, before hers, you know, what is like the positives and negatives of a person like that, do you feel, even in the real world, and how does this comic sort of reflect like that real world, you know, position?
Oh, that is like the best question I think we've ever been asked. Because it gets so deep. There's so much of the symbolism in it, because I think a lot of people are people pleasers, and they just want everybody in their world to be happy. And there's so much self-sacrifice that comes into making other people happy. And Ava, she just has this lack of awareness about, you know, how much is the appropriate amount to sacrifice for people to make them happy. Not even to like save their lives, just to make them happy. And I think people can relate to that, just because, like I said, there's so many people out there that are people pleasers. And in the end too, like, Ava is not going to be constantly able to give 100% of herself to save her friends. At some point, she is going to run out of steam, and, you know, either she's going to learn it or she doesn't. Part of it is because we don't want to give spoilers. Part of it is because we won't know till we're there.
All right, to rewind a little bit, how did, you know, both of you, you know, just get into, you know, being, you know, comic book creators? You know, what were you doing, you know, when you were younger?
So Jack and I have known each other for a little over 10 years now. We went to high school together. Like, we've known each other, that we call each other brother and sister at this point.
Freshman year, I think. Yeah, because I'm a year below you, so. Yeah,
it was your freshman, and I think my sophomore year.
Yeah.
You know how, like, you see, like, those geeky kids in class, like, write in notebooks and they swap notebooks back to each other?
Yeah.
That's what we did. We just swapped stories back and forth to each other, and we had, like, a whole group going like that for a while. So yeah, we were definitely those geeky kids in class that did that.
We were drama nerds.
Yeah, we were.
We were drama nerds.
You know, after high school, you know, we kind of just went our separate ways, but we always stayed in contact. And I got into being an artist and being a comic book artist and a comic creator full time. And when the story, when I first conceptualized the story back when like it was just nothing more than just a vague concept, I was like, I need someone to help me flesh this out. And I need someone to really make this story come to life in every sense possible. And the first person I can think of was Jack, because we have a lot of the same frequencies. Like when it comes to this kind of stuff, we have a lot of the same kind of dark sense of humor. So what about you, Jack?
Yeah, and I mean that's pretty accurate. And I mean, you just brought me to the story. You're like, hey, like we'd worked together on a couple projects you'd kind of hired me for to help you when you were overloaded. And then you brought it to me and you're like, I have this idea. I don't think we're going to be able to do anything with it at least for another year. And so I think you just came up with like base. You're like, there's this ditzy witch who has like lost her memories and she's got this demon familiar and they're trying to break their bond. And I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. And then, of course, my brain didn't stop. And I think for the next week, I started bombarding you with so much concept art and just ideas that, like, it was the end of that summer when we had the first issue done. Like, it just took off when we started getting on it. Like, crazy.
Why do you feel like you were able to work so well with each other?
I think it's because, one, we're always talking to each other. Like whether it's like we send memes to each other and we're like, this is Ava or this is Oliver, like, or we're like, hey, I have an idea for the script, or I have an idea to improve the script. I'm gonna make an edit and read it through when you can. Let me know your thoughts. So like we constantly talk to each other, and also we're always willing to compromise. Like if there's something Jack wants the characters to do and I'm like, I'd rather them do this or something like that, we'll figure out, and like whether it takes 5 minutes of brainstorming or 3 hours of brainstorming, we will come to a compromise so that it can happen, because it's not my way or the highway, and it's not Jack's way or the highway. We're a team in this, and we're both equal co-creators in this. So both of our inputs and our creativity and our ideas are very equally valid to make this story as seamless and as fun as possible.
Well, and there's part of it too where I think when we find our compromise, we both end up liking it better than what we came up with on our own. We love what happens when we blend our stuff, because if it were up to me, it would go dark way fast. And if it were up to Allie, it would stay campy and peppy for the most part. And when we blend it together, we get such a good mix of it that, I mean, we've talked about doing even other projects, and there's so much from like, I don't want to do a project by myself because I know when I do it with you, I like it so much more. Aww. So I think part of it too, we genuinely obsess about our own project and we can't stop.
Oh, that was sweet. How do you two sort of deal with any sort of obstacles creatively that you either between each other or just with the idea itself?
Like I said, in any, whether it's a friendship or an intimate relationship or a work relationship, any kind of like relationship or connection you have with people out there, communication is number one key. So we just are always communicating with each other. If there has definitely been times where I go into like my professional work mode that I that I do, and Jack will send me like a lettered page, and I'm like, this is like because we can't always call each other, so like sometimes we'll just send emails to each other. So to keep out all the fluff words, so that like so the editing doesn't get lost and anything, sometimes my suggestions may come across kind of robotic and that can be a little jarring if you're not expecting it. So right. Like there's definitely been times like that, and Jack will bring up the concerns and I'm like, okay, stop everything. We will have a phone call and we will have a family meeting right now and talk about it.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happens. And I mean, there's plenty of times too where either of us have hit a creative roadblock. We're just like, we have given all we can give and we don't know, but we've got to get this figured out. And sometimes it just takes being like, I know you've got this and I know you'll get it done when you get it done. Don't push yourself harder because it's never going to get done. You know, we support each other in knowing that we have lives outside of this that have to be taken care of. And we don't want to be putting extra pressure, because the more pressure you get, the less quality it is.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Outside of Bad Luck, what's been some of the other projects that both of you have worked on separately?
So like I said, I work professionally as a comic artist and a comic creator. So currently I work with Ozpool Media Agency. So I work with them on some stuff like where like they're developing an upcoming film called Red, which is like a horror modern retelling of Red Riding Hood. So they want me to be the comic book artist for the upcoming graphic novel of that, but I also
Okay.
help, provide mock-up posters and stuff, and I also helped with the screenplay a little bit. But and I'm also, a media agent with Ozpool, so I provide consultancy for any comic book questions or clients that want to come through. And I do a bunch of other different projects for different publishers and writers, just various. There's a lot.
Yeah, and I haven't done a lot other stuff. Bad Luck is kind of my first jump into comics. I've done art projects here and there. I used to run a few clubs on the good old Deviant Art. But other than that, I really haven't been out in the public eye. I've just been doing, the day job and doing the normal life with my creativity just kind of spilling out into hobby writing and stuff. But then Allie comes to me with this, and now suddenly I'm way too into it. So
For you, Jax, what was so like consuming about this story with Bad Luck? Why do you love it so much?
oh man, well when I start an idea, my brain just doesn't let it go, and I want to craft. I don't only want to craft a story. I want to craft a whole world around it. I want to be that fan that asks the question that stumps the creator. And so my brain is already coming up with the ideas, trying to stump myself because I'm the creator, or trying to stump Allie because she's the creator. And that's just what I do. When it's impossible to watch movies with me because I tear them apart for the same reason. So it was just kind of nice to have an obsession where we can come up with the answers. The answers are ours to make. And so then my brain just went bam. And I swear every time I talk about it, I just come up with new questions and try to find new answers. And it's a puzzle that'll never, ever actually be completed.
What do you think is the underlying message of this comic, Bad Luck?
I think we have different answers for that.
Yeah, you can
That's
go
good.
first.
For me, it's sort of like it's so the underlying message. Okay, Jack, actually, do you want to go first?
No, you go first. You started.
No, you go
just-
first. No, you go
No.
first.
Free.
So it's not just one message. I feel like there's several, because this is going to be a pretty long series. We're planning on 20 issues, but we definitely do want to put them in the volumes to kind of just bulk them together.
Of course. Yeah.
But so obviously friendship is magic, but like there's more to it than that. There's just a lot of themes. There's the theme of being compassionate towards other people, and then there's the theme of having healthy friendships, but also remembering to take care of yourself. And also that like if you don't, you're gonna kind of learn the hard way. And it's sort of like a hero doesn't come in a cape or in in, a iron suit or anything like that. A hero can be in the least likely of places, and and, and like the thing is that like it's sort of like are they really heroes? Because no one really knows what they're doing, and like the harvesters in a sense are like this world's heroes, whereas witches are kind of frowned upon and tabooed. But like with the kind of events they have to go through, they have to sort of turn into the underdog heroes in this kind of story. I don't know, Jack, you can probably explain it way better than I could.
You did an excellent job, actually. And there's a little bit more in the, decisions aren't black and white. And I guess the bad guys never know that they are the bad guys. There's never a true good guy or a true bad guy, just because it all happens to do with the perspective of which you're looking at the angle. And definitely we have that self-sacrifice for your friends. And I think in the end, a lot of what we're going to have is this, like, you choose who your family is, and, a family chosen can be just as strong as a family given.
Definitely. What do you feel like the sort of real world parallels that of bad luck has onto like what's going on in society right now?
Jack, you got this.
Okay, I got this.
I'm going deep on y'all.
Crack my fingers, start getting deep into it. There's quite a bit, and a lot of it there's acceptance. In the first couple issues, you learn about the harvesters, and you learn that they're kind of the magic police. They're the ones, but yet they're also giving quite a bit back to the community, and the community likes to live in this bubble where we have our good guys, and this is how it is, but anybody who uses magic must be bad. It doesn't matter what they're using it for or anything like that, so it must be bad. And that just kind of goes into our society today, where we have this anything out of the norm that's kind of counterculture or just not even mainstream is bad, and we're afraid of it, and we don't want it to have, we don't want it to reach the mainstream because we're afraid of what the mainstream is going to do with it. And the reality is that it's not necessarily bad, it's just different. And I think that is the biggest parallel between this comic and real life, is that it's not bad, it's just different, and everybody lives differently.
Right. Anything else you want to add to that, Alethea?
No, he took the words right out of my mouth.
I mean, I could go deeper, but we'd be here for 6 or 7 hours. So.
Oh yeah, no, I figured that. But yeah, no, like you were saying, yeah, I see that. You have these, this group, the harvesters. They do, good things for the community. They protect the community. That's much like we have our own police in our society, but the police and how they do things has definitely been a hot button issue for the past few years, and definitely for decades now, in regards to how bad cops, police brutality, whether racism, if like the hate groups are infiltrating the police departments. Where do you feel like, without giving any spoilers, where do you feel like this group of harvesters, where did their stories go to from here? Where do you want to see this group be in the story?
Well, and there's so much of it that and we have other projects that are in the same universe that kind of touch a little bit more into the harvesters as the individual people, and that the individual people have their own individual minds. Just because they're given the power doesn't mean they all are a hive mind of thoughts and things. And you're definitely going to see through the process of the comic that it is a pretty well parallel to you see a lot of that same thing of corrupted power. And even though every now and then you'll get plenty of them that are normal, but it seems like the ones that have corrupted with the power seem to be the loudest.
Also, yeah, I just want to add that, like, through the world of Bad Luck, we're not just going to be focusing on Oliver and Ava. Yes, they are our main characters and they're going to get us through this story, but we're also going to be focusing on other characters too. We have, without giving us too much spoilers, but we do have characters within the Harvester spectrum that we're gonna be focusing on a little bit, and kind of seeing their side a little bit, and seeing some characters from that. And also Oliver and Ava are going to run into other types of colorful characters in every sense of the word, and see how those characters live and how they kind of perceive the world and how they perceive the Harvesters. So we're definitely going to be broadening out other than just the focal point of Oliver and Ava.
Your artwork in this comic book, I really enjoy it. What's your style influence from, and how does the artwork of this comic book, help tell the story?
Thank you. I'm glad you like the artwork.
Yes.
I actually really love drawing this comic because I'm just able to have so much fun with it. So I've always loved anime and manga ever since I was like 7 years old watching Sailor Moon on Toonami. You and I have talked about Sailor Moon.
Yes. I'm starting to like watch the episodes, so like I love it thus far, but I'm still like on the first 7 episodes.
Oh man, you have a journey ahead of you.
Oh, I definitely.
Yeah. Well, he's watching the Crystal reboot, which is more
I like
of the
Crystal
manga.
reboot. It's decent.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I ain't got time for all that filler that I hear is in the original. But they have the original on Hulu, and I'm like, do I go with the original?
Watch Crystal first, then go for original. It's got its charm, but like you said, there's quite a bit of filler.
Yeah, and they got it English dubbed on for the original on Hulu, so I'll eventually get to it.
Yeah, definitely take your time with it. Also, if you can, watch the old movies too, because I feel like the old Sailor Moon movies are better than the show, in my opinion. But that's just me.
Okay.
I agree. I totally agree.
But anyway, back to the artwork.
Right.
So yeah, I've always loved anime and manga, and with my work as a comic artist, typically I get a lot of people that ask for like a Marvel or DC kind of art style, and I'm like, I'm not a Marvel or DC artist, but I can try my best. So I kind of had to tailor my own art style to meet the needs of the clients. So when it came to Bad Luck, I kind of wanted to mix the both, and something that really allowed me to make it as animated on paper as possible, to really get across the character's expressions, because with Oliver, his face is completely in shadow, so he has to have a very expressive face, and it does have comedic elements into it, so like some jokes require to be over the top. So, but I also wanted something creepy for the creepy horrific moments too. So anime and manga were big influences. I've always loved the works of Jonan Vasquez, his Johnny the Homicidal Maniac or Invader Zim. So that's kind of where we got the idea for the black and white, like kind of creepy shadows or the crackly shadows you see in the background.
Yeah.
So that kind of what sets the tone for the shading in that aspect, as well as the inking. So.
And Jax, how does her artwork lend to, your writing?
It's very inspirational for my writing. A lot of it too, and we do a lot of the writing. Like, yeah, I put down the words, but Allie and I talk through every single episode. We know what's going to happen in every issue. I just have to get it paneled out and looking nice, so that we can re-edit it and make sure things are said correctly. But I can visualize what she's going to put out there for each panel that I've written. And almost every time, it's exactly what I was picturing when I was writing the panel. which is great because I'm a darker writer.
Right.
I have a hard time trying to keep it light, fluffy, campy. I don't naturally write that way. So knowing that if I write something that might lean a little bit more dark, Allie usually turns around and can put a great that makes it a dark joke rather than just a whoa, why did you go there?
Do you feel like
it's okay, Jack?
Yeah.
It's okay, Jack. We'll get to the really dark stuff soon. I promise.
I know we're getting there. It's close. I can feel it.
Like, when are we gonna get to the dark stuff? All this jokey joke stuff is. But do you Jax? Do you feel like her art gives you more freedom, more space to sort of expand your mind on this story?
Absolutely. It definitely. How do I put this? It definitely gives me this thing where I can come up with a concept in my mind, even if we didn't talk about it. I'm just writing out what's gonna happen, and I'm like, oh man, I don't know how I would personally draw this, but I can give her the leeway and say, okay, here's the dialogue for this section. What can you do with it? And she can just sit back and go, I got this. And the style, it goes so, it flows so from dark to comedy that nothing is quite out of place. We don't have, one panel that it's like, wow, why is this all cartoonish? And then the rest of it's super serious looking. There's a reason, and it works. And it really works for this. It's a joy to even look over my old work. Looking back at some of my other stuff when I work in fine art and things, I'll like it for a little bit, and then you come back to it, and you're like, ew, I don't want to look at that anymore. But I have reread issue 1 and issue 2 so many times because I genuinely enjoy it. And it has a lot to do with the artwork. And the writing, they just blend together so well.
What do you hope your audience, your readers, get out of reading Bad Luck?
Well, first and foremost, we hope they have fun reading it.
Yes, absolutely.
Because we love creating it and we have fun with it, and we want that to reflect on the pages. So when people, whether the characters are going through something lighthearted or something really dark, we just hope the reader has fun with it. And they come to, and that's kind of why we want to touch on these kind of like subtle topics or subtle taboo topics and turn them into our own with this world and really flesh out the characters to make them their own. It's because we want the readers to come to care for the characters, because sort of like when you first meet someone the first time, you like them, but you don't grow that kind of affinity like we're going to be best buds till the end of time until time passes, so like people people who read Bad Luck, they may not like Ava right away, or they may not like Oliver right away, or they may not like Beetlebug right away, but given time, if they keep reading, they could come to love one or more of these characters. But usually we always hear someone at least likes one of the characters. Like we'll hear someone likes Beetlebug, so they stick around for Beetlebug, or someone likes Oliver, so they stick around for Oliver. And then, very
rarely do we hear off the bat that somebody loves Ava. But she'll grow on ya. She'll grow on ya.
I don't know. I kind of liked Ava from the beginning. She was, she was kind of annoying, but it was endearing.
Yeah, she's very harmless in that sense, at least. She's not too obnoxious.
But did you have anything you wanted to add, Jack, for readers to get out of it?
I hope that definitely the big thing is enjoy it. I mean, why would you want to read something or write something if other people weren't going to genuinely enjoy it? But I really hope that it can spur imagination. I love to inspire people, and I love people to, get to that point where they want to draw fan art and they want to write fan fiction and just keep their own creative stuff going. And if sometime we're listening to some podcast and they say, hey, what was your inspiration? And they say Bad Luck. I think I'll check off that goal
bucket
complete
list
thing. Yeah.
When you guys do conventions, what is sort of like your elevator pitch for this comic?
So I mainly do conventions right now, until I move back down to Oregon where Jack is, and then we'll be hitting the convention circuit down there.
Yeah, we will.
Okay, so you're moving back to Oregon eventually?
Yeah. So far, sometime at the day of this recording, in May 2019, hopefully. So.
Okay, but you're up in Alaska right now, right?
Yeah.
Woo!
But typically what I say to people whenever they ask, I'm like, I have like 3 different type of elevator pitches, because there's the elevator pitch that I have on my business cards and like the website and stuff, where, a witch summons a demon as her familiar and their luck's about to get worse. I have that. And then I also have, sort of like set in an alternate 1950s America, a witch and a demon must learn to work together to avoid a group called the Harvesters and continue their quest to a successful end, or something like that. I kind of tailor it in the spur of the moment. It's not concrete. It just kind of depends on who you're talking to, because every person you meet at conventions are different. Some of them just want the quick one-liner. Some are fine with you some need a little bit more information. So.
How do you feel like this story, with bad luck, with a character like Ava, with witches in this comic book, sort of fits into sort of like the progressing realm of women in comic books and a women artist doing the comic book? How do you feel like you fit in that, and how do you see the progression and all that these days about how women characters are being written and drawn and whatnot?
So I can only speak from my personal experience, so I don't mean this to like insult or degrade anyone or anything in any way. From my personal experience, I feel like women are becoming more represented in comics, which I think is an awesome thing. But it's also like, I'm fine with men being the main characters too. There are some comics I read or some video games I play, and some people are like, why isn't there a woman option? And it's like, this is like the Witcher. You're playing a character named Geralt, and some people were upset you couldn't play like a female version of Geralt. And it's like, Geralt's a guy. Like just play the character. So
chill.
Anyway.
chill, like chill out, bro. Just go.
Exactly.
Just enjoy yourself. Come on. I understand that we're trying to progress things, but that also means that it has to fit right. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Like don't force a character. Like, okay, so all right. Everyone hold on.
Go, Toby, go.
Go.
So like it's sort of people put the gender first a lot, or the sexual orientation or the sexual identity first,
Okay.
before the personality. And it should be the other way around. Actually, personally, I feel like none of that should come into play at all. Put the personality of the character first. If they happen to be a woman, they're a woman. If they happen to be, intersex, they're intersex. It doesn't matter what they are. It's the personality of that character it's going to keep you through the story. But that's just me personally.
Right.
So that's kind of what we do with Bad Luck. We don't really have, all women are good guys and all men are bad guys or anything like that. It's not like that. We kind of just develop these characters first and their personalities, and then we decide on their gender later. We do try to keep it equal so that like the Harvesters are pretty varied when it comes to ethnicity and gender. Same thing with the witches. It's not just women being witches. There are male witches, and it's all different kinds. You know, Oliver is an incubus, so he's not just interested in women, he's interested in anyone of any gender. He doesn't care. He'll feed on you. He doesn't care.
Oliver's good to go. He don't care.
Oliver's good to go anytime, man. He's
Anytime. DTF, ready to go.
he's trisexual. He'll try anything.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
But
So,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. I was just gonna say, you know, and as a female comic artist, like I don't want the fact that I'm a female comic artist to get me the jobs. I want my merits and my experience, and if you feel like I'm good enough for the job, to get me the job. What do you think, Jack?
Well, I'm very much in the same boat with you. I really think it has to come down to the individual, and I'm a comic writer where I feel like, and what I enjoy when I, you know, watch movies, play video games, read comics, whatever, I like a character who is just true to themselves. It's not this strong female character just to be just for the sake of having a strong female character. I want her to make sense. I want her to be real and there. And I feel like having more female creators is bringing more true female characters to the media.
Right.
I really do. Because men, we try really hard, and some of us can do it, but not everybody can make a well-rounded female character.
Right.
Just because we don't identify with them, and for some reason it just never comes out right, no matter, you know, well, it does sometimes, but not always. Like, I have problems with that. My wife has to butcher my female characters before they actually start to look right. And I'm not sure what I do, but she does. So she fixes my stuff.
Well, it's good that you're open to that. And I think that's what what's important is that, you know, when we progress into being more diverse, that, you know, we have to be open to other people and their point of views and listening to them. You know, it's easy just to shut up and listen to, you know, their experiences, because our experiences, you know, as just like me as like a white male isn't the same as anybody else's, but white males has dominated the creative block of everything forever, you know? So it's glad that you're, you know, you're open to that feedback. And it does, you know, like you said, you know, there are people that can write, there are men that can write women well, but even then they probably still have some, like you said, with your wife, probably have some input from some women in their lives, you know? So it's always, best to get that input. I remember a while back I interviewed I forget his name, but he was the first black man to play the Phantom for on tour for the Phantom of the Opera sequel, Love Never Dies. And I was asking him about that experience being that, and he's like, I'm not here, this isn't important because a black man is being the Phantom. I'm showing that this Phantom character can be played by anybody, that it doesn't matter if it is a white man or a black man, a gay man, straight man, or whatever, is that a character like that, it's the character, and a character like that can be played by anybody. So yeah, like you were talking about before, sometimes we have to put the personality in, you know, into account, in that a character can be played by many different types of people, but then there's also characters that really should be played by a specific type of person. Right,
because that's true to the character. Another example that I remember really vividly was an African American woman is going to be Hermione on the stage play for the Cursed Child for Harry Potter, and people freaked out, and I felt like it was handled poorly because J.K. Rowling tried to convince through Twitter, of course, because Twitter is, you know, all drama. She mentioned that, well, I never specified that Hermione was white, and my response would have been, it doesn't matter. Clearly this actress is strong enough that she can play Hermione. She's the best one for the role. And you know what? That's how I see it. I'm like, I want to see that because, you know what? I bet she's going to knock it out of the park.
Oh, right. Definitely. Yeah, sometimes, you know, a character should be played by a specific type of person, whether it's, you know, by race or sexual orientation or gender, or even with, you know, if they have any sort of medical issue, anything, you know, maybe, you know, those people might be able to should have some input on a certain character. But then sometimes there's characters that are a bit universal that can be related to by different types of people.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right,
Exactly.
we got
That's
deep
how we
there.
handle it in our stuff, you know. It's the character decides what they are, and we just kind of write it down.
Where do you like? Not exactly asking for spoilers or anything, but in a general sense, where do you hope that this comic Bad Luck goes to? What are your sort of hopes and dreams for it?
Well, yeah, pretty much everything. Everything you can think of, we want. Like we can't give anything definitive, but like we would love, like it would be super cool to get a video game based off of it, or a big publisher interested in it, and seeing what they can do with that, or we even joked around just like a clothing line would be funny too.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have generated some interest, but with a couple companies, but we can't really say anything right now.
Yeah.
But
we definitely would like to take it and get it into the mainstream. We feel like it's a story that the mainstream audience could enjoy, but we need to get more. We need to get enough people to say, "Man, this can have a mainstream appeal," because mainstream is changing. There's a lot of stuff out there now in the mainstream that wouldn't have been when we were kids, and definitely wouldn't have been when our parents were kids.
Yeah, like
and I feel like in a couple of years this might be there.
Yeah, and with Bad Luck, yes, we do have enough elements, for example, again, back with Ava's kind of can-do attitude and Oliver's salty attitude. Yes, we've seen this dynamic duo before in other stories, but there's also enough stuff in it to keep it different and to keep you like, well, I want to see how this will play out. Are they going to break the familiar bond? Like, what's going to happen? There's some darker nuances to it. Is this going to get darker? What kind of topics is this story going to cover? What kind, that kind of stuff. That there is some familiarity, but there is also a lot of different stuff that makes it its own, and we feel like a lot of people could find that relatable or inspiring in the mainstream.
And I really want to see cosplay. I'll just be straight up. I just want to see cosplay so bad.
I think a lot of times that is like one of the like ultimate goals of any like comic creator or whatever. They just want to see just people spend all that time to make their characters, make an outfit for their characters. I think that like is like the biggest joy of people.
Absolutely. I mean, imitation is the best form of flattery, the most sincere form of flattery, and it's like I so bad want to see people being so into it that they want to put their precious spare time and money into either making costumes or writing fan fiction or just coming up with their own fan characters. Like, that is, I think, the biggest hope I could ever have for this thing.
Or heck, like if we're at a convention and someone reads it and they come up to us and they're like, "Hey, I have a theory about this." We'll be like, "Yeah, let's talk about your theory for about 50 days. Let's do it."
Be my best friend forever.
What are some things that, like you mentioned this a few minutes ago, what are some things that you just didn't see when you were younger that you would like to put into your stories? And, how does that affect this book and anything else that you've done?
For me, it's like Jack mentioned earlier, it's a lot of acceptance. I can't really go too much into about my past because reasons, but
Reasons.
It's all good.
But I grew up in a very kind of conservative household, and a lot of the mindsets was very narrow-minded. It was and like with the people I hung out with and with my experiences growing up, it just didn't feel right. And then society was also like, I'm a woman, so society pressured me, get pregnant at this age. You got to get married at this age. You gotta have like, 3 kids and a pick a white fence, and you have to be at home cooking for the husband. Like, that's the kind of, like, it's very weird, but like even in the 90s, like it was pressured onto me.
Yeah, it's so nauseating that whole like.
Well, we grew up in this small town too, so.
Oh, it's even worse.
yeah. So it was a lot of that, and like you couldn't really be outside of the norm if you identified as a different identity, or if you were attracted to the same sex or anything like that, you were seen as an outsider and you were ostracized. And if you were different in any way, basically. So it's sort of like, I just want this comic to really just touch on acceptance, to either help kids understand more about it, or even adults, because adults still deal with acceptance issues as well.
Hell yeah.
And to know that they're not alone, and stories like this can hopefully bring them a little bit of hope.
Yeah, I mean, and that was definitely, I remember, in the 90s and stuff, when we grew up, there wasn't a lot of that embracing the strange character. A lot of it was, that gay character or something, it's the punchline, it's the joke, it's the butt of it. And there was so much of it that didn't feel real that I hope that we can bring into Bad Luck. There's just off the top of my head, you have a lot of shows that treat death like it's nothing. So you have, they're just mowing down the bad guys with bullets and whatever. We've killed the bad guys, but they've still killed people. And I know I don't think it's going to come up too much in Bad Luck, but hopefully in our other project in the same series, I know we're going to be bringing it in, that death isn't something to be taken lightly. It's not just, they were bad and so now they're gone and we're going to move on with our lives now. Because that always bothered me. It was kind of a, like, in the real world, this is a huge moral dilemma, but in media, it's nothing to just, wipe people out just because they're opposing to you.
Yeah, like that henchman, what if he had a wife and kids? What if he had a family waiting for him and now he's dead? That's, we touch on it a little bit in Bad Luck later in the series, but we're doing a spin-off of Bad Luck that'll be taking place in the current timeline, and like Jack said, that's going to be expanded on more, that death is a serious thing.
Great. How do you feel like this sort of idea of acceptance has, in doing Bad Luck, doing this series, has helped you two out personally with your own, dealing with acceptance in life?
For me, it's made me like, it just made me happier in just like a general sense, because like I can really do whatever I want with these characters. I can really draw them however I want to, because we're writing them as this is just an everyday thing, with acceptance. It's not, because it's the witches that are ostracized. It doesn't matter what skin color they are. It doesn't matter what gender they are. It doesn't matter what identity they are. The fact is that they're witches, so they're bad. So like, so like we can really have a lot of fun with how characters will look and how characters will interact, and that's kind of what helped a lot with the whole acceptance things, that like acceptance and people being different, like people come in all different shapes and sizes and they're all different interests, and and that's perfectly fine as long as it's not hurting anyone. What do you say, Jack?
Sorry, I got distracted. What was the question again?
How does this series Bad Luck kind of help you, with your own acceptance in life?
Oh yeah. What really helped me? It helped me in a more real world type thing. So I'm somebody who suffers greatly with anxiety. And I kind of have my whole life, but like it seemed as soon as I became an adult, it really became overwhelming.
Right.
There was at least a year where I didn't even leave my house. It was so bad. And part of it became the pressures of society. So whether my family intended to or not, the moment I graduated high school, it was like suddenly everybody was like I had been pretty isolated. I didn't grow up with any siblings. I grew up in a small town, kind of away from family, but suddenly everybody had this interest in me and was calling me on a constant basis and wanting to get in touch with me. And the reality of it was I felt like what they wanted from me was answers as to where my life was going. And here I am, man, I just turned 18. I just got married about a month after graduation. I didn't have any plans for my life except for to just keep breathing and walking forward. And suddenly I had nothing. I couldn't do much. And then I had a bunch of medical things happen. And so once I started really getting it with bad luck and doing something that felt like we were doing it for us first and for everyone else second. But then we started showing it to other people and they liked it. And then we got a publisher for it. And then we started doing podcasts for it. And I started finally having something in my life that I could be proud of. And that when my family came a knocking, I could say, this is what I have going in my life. What do you have going on in your life? And it kind of gave me a little bit more power back in my life just to have something that was mine and that I first enjoyed and that I knew other people also enjoyed.
Wow. Great. Yeah, I'm glad that that this project have been able to, give that to you.
Yeah.
To sort of wind things down, I always like to ask this question of people. What's sort of a nugget of knowledge from your life or career that anybody listening to this podcast, no matter what sort of avenue of artistry that they're in, could sort of project into their own life?
You can go first, Jack.
I'd say always be open to constructive criticism, but also learn how to give good constructive criticism. Because it can be really hard, just as an artist in general, to look at somebody else's art and go, oh man, you need to fix this and you need to fix that. But, being on, kind of having that empathy of like, if I was the person who'd put 60 hours into this piece,
right?
Telling them, oh, you need to fix the nose. Thanks. How? I put 60 hours into it already. I thought the nose was fine. What do I do? And so kind of just having the empathy for each other and the respect that, not everybody's at the same level. We can't judge other people's work against our own. And while, yeah, we want to help everybody get better, not everybody is ready to listen to everybody's advice at the same time.
What do you think is the do's and don'ts of giving and taking criticism?
I think we usually, okay, so if I were to give somebody constructive criticism, I usually tell them 2 or 3 things that they did really well, with one thing that I think could be worked on and how I personally would fix it. Doesn't mean that they have to do it, doesn't mean that they have to take the advice, and I try to let them know that, like, hey, this is just my outlook on it. If you think it's perfect, then it's perfect by all means. But what I would personally do with it. And I mean, it's still, personally, the shock of getting criticism can be hard at times.
Yeah.
I know, like, Allie was talking about lettering pages. Like, I'd lettered one that I felt like I put a lot of work in, and she gives me this, like, really deadpan, straight up, like, professional answer. But when I looked at it, I happened to be at work plunging a toilet, and so I was already in the dumps, you might say, when I read it, and I'm like, oh man, I might as well have not even put those 2 hours into that one page, because she hates it, it's awful. Later when I went back, and we talked it out, we were good, but like later when I went back and read it, there was nothing wrong with what she had said. It was just that I happened to be definitely in the wrong place at the wrong time to be reading those comments. And so I think there's a little bit where, you just got to prepare yourself for criticism and not always just don't react directly to it immediately. Let it sit in, think about it critically, before you come back with any sort of response. Because in the end, especially if you're working on your own things, it's up to you whether you change it or not. You don't have to make everybody happy.
Right. Definitely. Allie, did you have anything to add in regard to a nugget of knowledge that you would offer to anybody listening to this?
I would just agree with Jack with what he said. Because we live in such an instant gratification kind of culture now, and with how easy social media makes it to, yes, we are at the best time of connecting with people all over the world, but at the same time, that also brings a lot of drudgery and a lot of negative words that can also fly instantly as well. So you kind of have to take the good with the bad. And so kind of with Jack, with what he's saying, that like if you're on social media, whether it be like Twitter, Facebook, or whatever, and someone criticizes, your work, if you're doing this professionally, whether you're drawing, music, writing, whatever, that stays on the internet kind of like forever. So like you kind of have to try and be professional as much as possible. So like let yourself, and also if you're working in a team, to try and be professional as possible. So like let yourself breathe, think about your answer, because once you post it, kind of think about, is this something that I'm gonna regret posting later? Or is this a fight really worth my time? Am I gonna change this person's opinion, or is something salvageable gonna come out of this argument or conversation? If not, then it's just not worth your time. You don't have to respond to them. So it's just sort of that, like, just take your time, no rush, and whether you like your work or not, you're the one that makes the call to edit or fix your work. You don't have to do everything that everyone on earth tells you to do, because you can't please everyone with their constructive criticisms.
Right.
Ava can't do it.
And I always like to end my interviews with the same question. Who would be somebody that is part of your life or career, or somebody that influenced you that I could realistically interview for this podcast that would have some good stories or lessons to talk about?
Jack, I think you have one, right?
Eric from Inbion. How do I pronounce it? How do we pronounce his last name, Allie? I totally botch it every time.
I think it's just Hutchison. So Eric Hutchison.
Eric Hutchison from Inbion. He has been such a great person to have just on our team, on our side. Will come back and he will do it. And like,
you were just kind of cutting out. You were just kind of cutting out there for a little bit. Can you just? Yeah.
Hang on.
All right.
Am I good again?
Yeah, I can hear you again.
Can you hear me again? All right. I'll start that up again. Eric Hutchison from Inbion. He's been a guy that's been part of our bad luck journey since Inbion decided to publish for us, and every time we've needed him, he's been there. He's given us more advice than we could possibly ever want in our life, but it's all good. Everything he says, I mean, he's on our side all the time. I'd never doubt that guy. And he knows so much, and he's got so much passion for his work that if you could get an interview from him, I would absolutely listen to it. He is probably one of my favorite people to get pep talks from, like, all the time.
Yeah, he's also the founder and CEO of Inbion, and he's also skilled in art and animation too. So he could definitely provide a lot of interesting insights in the industry and entertainment and all that.
Oh,
so
man, I love his comic Crimson Huntress. It's great.
All right, great. Before we get out of here, where can people go online to get more information about what you guys are up to, and if you have anything that you want to plug, go ahead.
Yeah, so anyone can find all the information, news, convention updates, artwork updates, publishing updates about Bad Luck on its official website. That's badluck.com. And they could also check out Bad Luck on Facebook and Instagram, and Twitter for a lot of WIP sketches, works in progress, and again, more updates. And it's super simple. Just look up. So for Instagram and Twitter, it's Bad Luck Comic, and then for Facebook, it's official Bad Luck Comic.
Well, all right. It was good talking with you both.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, I had a fun time. Do you is Bad Luck available in hard copies?
Not yet. It will be soon. But people can buy it digitally through Inbeyond for like 99 cents.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now on Inbeyond's website. So, yeah. All right. Yeah, thanks for chatting with me. Yeah, this interview will, I'm not sure when I'm going to put it up, but it'll be soon. I got so many other interviews in the bank right now.
No worries at all. Please take your time. Totally know you're busy.
Time. Yeah. Yeah, finally we were able to get in touch. I actually had internet this week, so yay.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And please let us know if there's anything we can do for you in return, obviously, for doing this amazing interview with us.
Oh, no problem.
If you ever want to do it again, we're always good to go.
Right. Yeah, I'm definitely can't wait for the time when I can do like return guests and stuff like that. So
that'll be cool.
Yeah, we love podcasting. So if you ever want us back, just hit us up.
Cool. Yeah. Maybe we can talk about other things. Sailor Moon or something like that.
Heck yeah!
Yes, we would definitely do that.
One day I just gotta have like a bunch of people and we have just like a Sailor Moon episode and we just talk Sailor Moon.
Just like dissect it or something.
That would be fantastic.
I'll keep you guys in mind, if I ever do that. I gotta finish watching it all and everything, but yeah, I gotta keep that in mind. All right, that was my interview with Alethea Van Holland and Jaxon Joubert, creators of the comic series Bad Luck. More information about where you can read Bad Luck and follow them online will be in the show notes for this episode at freshasthepodcast.com. All right, another interview, another episode, another great talk with some good people in the books. Thank you for listening. Goodbye and good night.
Fresh is the word.